closed the road off a fair distance from where the accident actually happened. And that's because although it's a beautiful sunny day where I am parked, the conditions further up the highway are extremely dangerous with blowing snow, strong winds, and poor visibility. What we do know so far from police is that there were 15 vehicles involved in that accident. That includes 3 transport trucks. Driving out here, I saw 6 ambulances with their lights on, and we know now that's because 2 people were sent to hospital with serious injuries and 4 others were sent with non-life-threatening injuries. I've also been seeing taxis driving in and out of the scene with people who are not injured, but their vehicles are damaged. Jennifer Gruded, CBC News from the Trans-Canada Highway near Birchie Narrows.
The police say emergency crews came from several communities throughout the region.
There were multiple police officers out of Springdale Detachment, Deer Lake Detachment, and RCMP Traffic Services West. There were up to 8 ambulances on the scene at the one time. Were fire departments from Hampton, Springdale, and Deer Lake. And the ambulances were reported from Deer Lake, Corner Brook, and Jackson's Arm. So multiple emergency services or first responder vehicles on scene.
Well, as you can see from some of that footage and as far as the satellite radar goes, very isolated in nature as far as those snow squalls go. We do still have the snow squall warnings in place for Corner Brook, Grossmoor, including Deer Lake as well. And we have a wind warning up through the northern peninsula east. Now, through the night tonight, good news is we will start to see a wind shift, which means all of those snow squalls should ease up through the overnight with some clearing skies right across the board, essentially. And then into tomorrow afternoon, those winds will shift back into a more favorable for those snow squalls. So we could see those develop again into the afternoon, or likely we'll see those develop again into the afternoon with some lingering flurries possible along the northeast coast, Avalon, and the Burin Peninsula as well. Now, taking a look at the temperatures from earlier today, sitting in the minus single digits. Get used to, or don't get used to these temperatures, because this will be the warmest we'll see over the next week or so. Environment Canada has a extreme cold warning in for most of Newfoundland. Those wind chills tomorrow night, somewhere between minus 25 to minus 40, continuing through the day on Wednesday. I'll have all those details in your full forecast coming up.
The stage was set for Paul Power to take his play, Crippled, to theaters in San Francisco and New York.
It's a real letdown to sharing artistic expression with a company in the United States who wants to see it and wants their audiences to see it.
But now the U.S. federal government is refusing to let this show go on. I'll tell you why coming up on Here and Now.
Talked about the West Coast traffic situation. Another dramatic crash to tell you about. A truck flew off the Pitts Memorial Drive overpass and burst into flames on Saturday evening. The truck landed on the embankment on Southside Road. Now, the driver managed to get out of the vehicle before it exploded and caught fire. A 27-year-old man from the Southern Shore was the lone occupant of that vehicle, and police say he walked away with minor injuries. The area was closed to traffic for more than 2 hours, and the investigation into the cause of that crash is ongoing.
Police are looking for the public's help to find 22-year-old Thomas Jones in Grand Falls, Windsor. Jones was reported missing on Thursday morning, and today friends of the man started their own search for clues. Here Now's Garrett Berry reports from Grand Falls, Windsor.
Over the weekend, the RCMP released a third call for public help in this case, this time focusing on the South Side Access Road and a gray Toyota sedan. They're asking anybody who might have seen this car or anybody walking in this area on Wednesday night to contact the police. Last week, Exploit Search and Rescue combed through the area. Today, that job fell to friends of Jones and his family. They are on the lookout.
Some clues, footprints, anything showing footprints, anybody that's been in the area, maybe article, clothing, anything.
They are not trained searchers. This is their first time, but they said they were spurred to action after seeing the pain of Tommy Jones's family.
Not only today, every day is hard. Susanna, the mother of the kids Tommy has, she has Rano is 3, the baby is a year old, and she's pregnant with the 3rd child. So the family is very devastated and wondering, you know, what's going on, no clues to anything. So it's to help them out, really.
They've been told he was headed to a cabin with a friend and that he called his partner at 6 on Wednesday evening. She says it just doesn't make sense for Jones to disappear.
Tommy was a good guy. He was cared about his family, he cared about his girlfriend. He was never in the, as far as I've known, he'd never been in trouble. He can, look after himself and stuff. So this is what don't make sense. Why would Tommy be out here and be left and no clue of where he's been?
They're hoping for the best, but also facing the facts.
We're hoping it's safe, but if it's not, if we do accidentally come across the body, it's going to bring closure for the family. Yes. The family wants closure. That's what he wants right now. As hard as it is, to know he's out there somewhere and not knowing where he is hurting the family worse.
The group says they will be back in this area tomorrow, but they are also urging anybody who knows anything to contact the police to help them with their investigation. Garrett Berry, CBC News, Grand Falls, Windsor.
Former Education Minister Dale Kirby is going to the Supreme Court to clear his name. During the so-called bullying scandal last year, Bruce Chalk, the Commissioner of Legislative Standards, found that Kirby violated the MHA's Code of Conduct. But the human resources experts that Chalk hired exonerated Kirby of all accusations made by two fellow MHAs. Those are Pam Parsons and Colin Holloway. And for privacy reasons, Chalk refuses to disclose the findings of the Toronto firm Rubin Tomlinson. And Privacy Commissioner Donovan Malloy has supported that decision. But in his notice of appeal, Kirby says he has a right to see the findings of a workplace investigation into his conduct. And Kirby also says it is in the public interest to release those documents. Now, that same firm also cleared ousted cabinet minister and former Liberal MHA Eddie Joyce of all bullying and harassment accusations.
A forensic audit of Muskrat Falls reveals the hydroelectric project was in financial trouble early on. That's just one of the findings of Grant Thornton's latest audit, released today as the second phase of the Muskrat Falls inquiry resumed in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Here now's Jacob Barker was at today's inquiry and joins us now live. So, Jacob, what can you tell us?
Well, the window of time this phase of the inquiry will be looking at is the period between December of 2012, after the project was sanctioned, until March of 2018, and just what caused the cost of the project to balloon from the $6.1 billion it was projected to cost to over $10 billion today. According to the forensic audit, Nalcor knew early on that the estimates were off, but the company did very little, if anything, about it. Scott Schaefer of Grant Thornton led the latest audit.
When did that variance exceed the contingency that was set at sanctioning? And what this table tells me is that by April of 2013, the contingency was exhausted.
The audit lays out meetings which began in 2013 between Paul Harrington, the Lower Churchill Project's director, and Nalcor executives. All were briefed on steadily rising costs even before committing to the project. With these early warning signs, Nalcor could have made the changes prior to signing a federal loan guarantee in November of 2013. It didn't. When asked why Nalcor didn't recalculate the cost of the project, Harrington responded, "Not my call," saying the decision lay with senior management, meaning Ed Martin and Gilbert Bennett. And once the federal loan guarantee was put in place, Nalcor was committed. According to the report, Nalcor's own consultant indicated that there was only a 3% chance the planned schedule would be met in 2017. It also shed lights on performance issues, an additional $884 million due in large part to Astaldi's lagging performance, pouring concrete 2.5 times slower than it estimated in its bid.
When you compare that, the actual production, to this average of what they had to pour on an average, they've only hit exceeding the 13,000 cubic meters per month 10 times out of 50 months that they were pouring concrete. So basically about 20% of the time.
Schaefer is scheduled to continue presenting the 130-page audit until Thursday. Reporting live for Here and Now in Happy Valley Goose Bay, I'm Jacob Barker.
In a move that's rattled the rafters in Ottawa, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's principal secretary and close advisor, Gerald Butts, has resigned. Butt's departure comes amid a rising clamor for answers about whether the Prime Minister's office played a role in the SNC-Lavalin Jody Wilson-Raybould controversy. The accusation is that the PMO pressured the former Justice Minister to help SNC-Lavalin avoid a trial on bribery and fraud charges in Libya. Butts issued a statement today denying he or anyone else in the PMO applied pressure, but says the accusations have become a distraction from the work of the Prime Minister and his office. The opposition wants Gerald Butts to testify before the Commons Justice Committee. They also want to hear from Wilson-Raybould. She has said nothing, citing solicitor-client privilege as the government's former lawyer. A probe into whether there was political pressure to help SNC-Lavalin avoid a criminal trial was launched by the Ethics Commissioner in Ottawa. And today, the NDP also called for a public inquiry into the matter.
Back to this province now. There's mixed news about the state of the shrimp fishery tonight. Federal fisheries scientists met with reporters today and walked them through the most recent stock assessments. And the headline this time is that the health of the shrimp stock kind of depends on where you fish. In the area where most inshore fish harvesters place their nets along the northeast coast, the numbers are still critical, but at least they have stabilized, so there likely won't be any further quota cuts there. But there are significant declines in the area north of Labrador where the offshore trawlers fish. DFO says there are so many factors at play, it's hard to figure out just what's going on.
That the quotas have been low. They've been reduced to account for the changes in biomass. But we also know that there's been a lot of changes in cod biomass, for example, and changes in water temperatures, where this year saw some of the warmest bottom temperatures and coldest surface temperatures. And generally there's been a reduction in plankton availability through time. So because there's so many changes all at once, we can't attribute it to one single thing.
Well, to the RCMP, it's called a major crime investigative technique, but the public knows it as a Mr. Big Sting. Today, a St. John's jury got an inside look at the operation which ended with Al Potter's arrest. Here Now's Ariana Kelland was inside the courtroom today for the Al Potter murder trial, and she joins us now live. So, Ariana, every Mr. Big Sting has a storyline. What scenario was fed to Potter?
That's right. Every one of these storylines have something that can seduce a suspect. And in this case, it's nothing if not creative. Undercover officers gained credibility with Al Potter in the months leading up to September of 2016. They met members of the Vikings Motorcycle Club through an inside man who was working with police. They frequented bars downtown to become familiar faces, all to establish their story that they were loan sharks making lots of money in the business of collecting outstanding debts. And once he was released from jail in Lindsay, Ontario, they had a job for Al Potter. And there was no time to waste. Potter and this undercover officer got right to work planning to find two brothers who owed outstanding debts. Now take a look at this map. It shows that Potter and the undercover officer started in Minton with the lead cop driving a safe distance behind. From there, they went to a bar called the Barking Cat, where Potter and another man said that someone had murdered one of the brothers who owed money. Potter and the so-called debt collector was met by another undercover officer in a white van. They drove to a remote cornfield to collect the body. This body, unbeknownst to Al Potter, was actually a dead pig in a hockey bag. Now, once they got the bag, they drove to a cemetery in London. That's where they met yet another undercover officer acting as a graveyard worker, where they buried the pig in a freshly dug grave. Now, if it sounds too crazy to be true, it's because it is too crazy to be true. The person who came up with this whole scheme was an RCMP sergeant who took the stand today at Potter's trial. He says that the day after they buried this pig, Potter actually made a confession to one of the undercover officers. The details of that confession have not yet been heard by the jury, but the cop did say today that the conversation was not recorded because the listening devices weren't working at the time. We're expected to hear more details on that in the coming days when more undercover officers take the stand. Reporting live for Here and Now, I'm Ariana Kelland.
Well, a St. John's performer is being blocked from taking the stage in the U.S. Paul Power was booked to perform his play Crippled in California and New York.
But the U.S. federal government has denied him a work visa, and as Here and Now Zach Gowdy tells us, the refused entry is putting a spotlight on how the United States immigration rules affect independent artists.
What do I do now? What does one do at a buffet table by themselves?
Crippled is a play about loss, about grief, about dating, about sex, and most of all, about how living with a disability affects all those things. For playwright and star Paul Power, it's a deeply personal story. That's why missing a chance to share it is so painful.
It's not really important to me to become some kind of star or in the spotlight. What is important to me is sharing the story of living with a disability.
Crippled was about to go on tour, booked for shows in San Francisco and upstate New York. But Power and his colleagues needed U.S. work visas, and for artists and performers, there are just 3 ways to get one. The first way is to be internationally famous. Another is an exchange where a U.S. performer also comes to Canada. The third way is to prove the work has unique cultural value. That's where Crippled fit. Power submitted a mountain of evidence, testimonials from prominent artists, disability advocates, and academics, but somehow it wasn't enough. His visa application was rejected.
It was a big letdown, a real insult to myself, my work, the disability community, respecting disability and the lived experience as a unique culture.
For the cast and crew, the rejection meant a loss of income, of opportunity, and a huge investment of time down the drain. For the U.S. theater company that booked the shows and was already promoting them, it's an example of how U.S. immigration rules work against small, independent artists.
The immigration laws in the states are just behind the times. You know what I mean? What's culturally unique has progressed. You know, there's a total lack of awareness on so many levels about indie theater and artists, and the majority of the art making, being happening in the theater world is not Hamilton.
The theater company is petitioning the U.S. government to update its rules for performers. Power hopes that someday his show will go on. Zach Gowdy, CBC News, St. John's.
Welcome back, everyone. So before we get to the weather, we're going to just go outside for a few minutes.
Why not?
And have a look at these young folk today in St. John's. Did not have homework on their minds today. They got to hang out at the Loop, where the city provided free hot chocolate, storybook characters, and great music.
Oh, yeah, somebody from Frozen. Now, they weren't thinking about school because the English School District gave all students the day off for what the board calls its midwinter break. Wish could all have that.
Yes, and it falls on what many other provinces call Family Day, which is a provincial holiday.
Yeah, one that we don't have here.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Unfortunately.
There's an election coming. You want to get a few votes?
Oh.
Give us a Family Day, please.
We do get Regatta Day.
There is that.
Yeah.
Look, they're having some fun.
Yeah.
They did.
All right. I know you're getting to the weather. There is a segue here to be had. T-buns.
Yes.
You're a fan, I'm assuming?
I love T-buns.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you to the East Bun Tea Lady, or East Side Tea Lady, T-Bun Lady. But here's a question for you. If they don't have raisins, do they count? Because these are the best raisinless T-buns I've had. But
I like raisins.
right.
I like them both ways.
Okay.
Actually.
Me too, same.
Yeah.
Is it
I love
scone or
raisins.
scone?
Scone.
Scone.
Yeah.
Scone.
Scone.
Anyway, it's gone. The segue's gone. It's going to be cold.
Yes.
T-buns, tea.
T-buns and lots of tea. Or hot chocolate, whatever you prefer. But yes,
Anything warm.
We're gonna get really cold. Yeah. So the temperatures that we're seeing right now are actually the warmest of the next week or so, sitting in the minus single digits, -10 towards the coast, and then even up through Labrador, sitting in the minus single digits. -9 is your temperature right now up through Happy Valley Goose Bay. Factor in that wind chill though, feeling closer to the minus teens right across Newfoundland up through Labrador as well. Cold for Lab City though, -29 is what you're currently feeling outside. So we do still have those snow squalls for the west coast. As we head through the next couple of hours, we'll likely start to see that taper off as those winds shift, but we do still have those snow squall warnings in place. Corner Brook, Grosse Moorne, and Deer Lake up through the northern peninsula. Wind warning in place with gusts near 110 kilometers per hour at times this evening, and that will taper off as well, or at least ease below warning criteria. So there's that wind shift I mentioned. I'm going to go from westerlies to northwesterlies tonight. Those winds will ease slightly to about 40 kilometer per hour gusts, and then temperatures dropping to about -12 for Corner Brook, -9 for Port aux Basques. Central areas will dip probably closer to the -20s in low-lying areas. Otherwise, -16 should be your overnight low for Grand Falls. Winds are -10 in St. John's. We're also going to see that wind shift from westerly to northwesterlies tonight. Up through Labrador, Lab City sitting at -29 is your overnight low tonight, so not moving too much more. And then Happy Valley Goose Bay, -20. Northwest winds along the coast, though, are still going to be gusting upwards of about 70 kilometers per hour tonight. So looking at the satellite radar for tomorrow into the afternoon, we'll start to see a little bit more of a wind shift, which means we could potentially see those snow squalls develop again. The Burin Peninsula, Avalon, and the northeast coast all looking at that risk of flurries as well. Otherwise, Labrador quite quiet. Just along the coast, we could see some cloud cover and a few flurries through the afternoon. So here's a look at your forecast. Northwest winds tomorrow gusting upwards of about 50 kilometers per hour, and there's that temperature drop. Only a high -8 in St. John's tomorrow, -9 in Clarenville. They're going to drop even more so as we head towards the evening hours. And then Grand Falls, Windsor, -9, Harbor Breton, -8. Again, that chance of flurries along the northeast coast. And then snow squalls along the west coast with those windy conditions continuing as well. -10 for Grosse Moorne and -12 for St. Anthony, but sunshine. Again, winds gusting in exposed areas upwards of about 70 kilometers per hour tomorrow. Otherwise, plenty of sunshine up through Labrador. Starting to see those cooler temperatures make their way in. -25 is your afternoon high for Lab City. Now, the reason why we're seeing these colder temperatures is we're getting into the coldest air Tuesday night into Wednesday. With overnight lows dipping into the -20s in some cases through Labrador, or rather through Newfoundland. And then looking at your wind chills, this takes us through to Tuesday, or tomorrow morning into Wednesday night, or Tuesday night rather. Look at these wind chills start to dipping into the -30s and close to the -40s as well. So do have extreme cold warning. I'll have all those details in your forecast when we look a little bit ahead when I come back.
This weather forecast is brought to you by Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. 5,000 kilometers of groomed trails are waiting to be explored. Embrace winter today.
Well, some students from Bishop Field Elementary took advantage of a day off school to head up to the Confederation building. They're upset with being displaced since late 2017. Around 20 students from K to 6 hand-delivered written letters asking the province to hurry up and fix Bishop Field. Here Now's Jeremy Eaton was there, and here's what they had to say.
Premier Ball. My name is Sam Morgan and I am in grade 3 at Bishop Field. I am writing to tell you how I feel about not being able to go to my school.
I started going to the original Bishop Field and I would like to finish there because you are taking a bit longer than we thought to fix it. It comes off like you don't really care about the students and teachers.
I'm on the bus an hour a day, and I don't like going on the bus.
Can you ask the men to make the walk go faster? I really like the old Bishop Field and I want to go back there.
What do you miss about your school?
I miss walking to the school or riding my bike to the school.
It had a bigger library and it's old building that I just really liked.
Bishop Field is the best school ever, but now we're in the school for the deaf, and we've been in this school for too long. I'm getting sick of this school. I'm a class of 25, and our classroom is so small and not enough space to even put all of our desks. Please let us know when you are 100% sure we're getting back to field. Thank you, Andy.
You're going to give the letters to the Minister for TW. I'm the Minister for Education and Child Development.
Oh, good on him.
Yeah, we'll see what the ministers do with that. You've done a lot of stories about that since it started. It was a while ago.
It was a long time ago. I was surprised to just read there that it was 2017, so it has been a while. They miss their school for sure.
They sure do.
We have a worldwide market. We're the only ones in the world actually manufacturing these simulators.
A small local company that's changing how people around the world work on the ocean. Welcome back to Here and Now. Ocean technology is a growing sector in this province's economy, and the harsh sea conditions in Newfoundland and Labrador have given some companies here an edge around the world. Virtual Marine is one such company. They're small, 20 employees. It's possible you might never even have heard of them. But as Jane Adey from CBC Radio's The Broadcast found out, with the help of computers and simulation, Virtual Marine is changing how people work on the ocean all over the planet.
The open ocean can present some of the most dangerous working conditions on Earth. That's a daily challenge for Newfoundland company Virtual Marine. It develops some of the world's most advanced technology to make working on the water safe.
All personnel should now be at the lifeboat stations. Prepare for evacuation.
In this lifeboat simulator, people can train for emergency situations without risk.
Everyone secure, prepare for splashdown.
So Virtual Marine set out to find a way to simulate accidents and rescues.
It's amazing.
Tony Patterson says this kind of technology is possible because of 20 years worth of research at the National Research Council following the Ocean Ranger disaster. Complicated math models allow users to experience being on the ocean without being anywhere near it.
According to the regulations, everyone who is certified as a lifeboat coxswain has got to prove that they can operate in rough seas. So this is a key part of the simulator, is being able to ratchet up the sea states to the maximum sea state that the lifeboat can operate in. And sometimes you might have to find other people in the water. You might have to tow another lifeboat. You might have to tow a life raft out of a fire, for instance.
Trainees have lots of hurdles to jump to get to safety. Virtual Marine has had its share of hurdles too.
When we started this company, the use of simulation and training was prohibited. You weren't allowed to use simulators. So we had to spend an awful lot of effort to convince regulators that this was an appropriate way of training.
Now, regulators in oil and gas and in shipping see the benefits of allowing workers to practice whenever they want.
Tell me where these simulators are in the world. What is your market?
Yeah, we have a worldwide market. We're the only ones in the world actually manufacturing these simulators. So we started off in Canada. We actually started off here in Newfoundland, and then the United States and Mexico. And we crossed the Atlantic. We are the primary simulator provider in Norway. We have some in Denmark. Australia is a recent installation. We have a system now in Qatar. So it's slowly but surely we're going around the world.
Virtual Marine also offers fast rescue craft operators a simulation of the open ocean. With the help of virtual reality, trainees can shift gears and speed through the waves to an emergency, all while they're safe on land.
The launching and the recovering of the boat is the most dangerous piece. When I was in Coast Guard, for instance, through separate accidents, I got a concussion, severed part of a finger, and broke a finger learning how to recover boats in really rough conditions. So there had to be a better way. This is my personal incentive, was there a way through, let's say, virtual reality and simulation training to give people some basic knowledge on how to do things correctly before they tried it in a real boat.
So what conditions are you simulating in this exercise? You're changing, I guess, the visibility, for example, on the ocean?
Right, so we change the sea states, the visibility, daylight, darkness. But the most important thing that we're changing is the operational scenario that they're practicing. So there's different procedures to follow if you're looking for someone in the water in the fog, for instance, or if you're going out to tow a lifeboat, that fast rescue craft operators have got to know these procedures and practice them.
The simulation is so lifelike, users sometimes get seasick. Their hands might be in reality, but their eyes and ears are in a 360-degree virtual world.
For a fast rescue craft operator, they have to be able to see completely around the vessel in order to do their job. For instance, he's alongside of the lifeboat, might be transferring passengers, but he's got to keep an eye on where the people in the water are, or if there's anything else that's going on. Especially when we're doing a search in the fog, for instance, the head of the driver is on the swivel. It always has to be looking around. So that's what the virtual reality gives. It gives us that full 360 panoramic view.
Virtual Marine has a system to train those who navigate around ice.
We're now at the bottom of Conception Bay. There's a tanker that's at anchor further up in the bay, and we have this field of multi-year ice is starting to drift in. You can see there's white ice and there's blue ice, and the blue ice is very old. That's multi-year ice. It is so strong that if a ship hits it, it can punch a hole in the side of it. So it's almost like the ice that sunk the Titanic. It's that strength. So whatever we do, we can hit the white ice, but we cannot touch the blue ice.
Okay, so critical to navigate and learn how to navigate around that.
That's right. And you can see in this scenario, it's not so bad because we've got full daylight visibility.
But throw in darkness or a raging snowstorm, and navigation becomes a little trickier around that dangerous multi-year ice. Luckily, another Newfoundland company, Rudder, specializes in radar that detects those boat-breaking bergy bits.
The Canadian Coast Guard, after using us, they've told us this is the most advanced ice simulator in the world.
Virtual Marine expects demand for this technology is about to take off. It's because of something called the Polar Code. New international rules require anyone sailing in the Canadian Arctic or the Antarctic to have advanced training in navigating ice.
We've taken this big system and we've compressed it into a desktop unit, and we're now in discussions with schools around the world to bring our simulator to their school with ice experts so we can teach mariners around the world how to safely operate in our Arctic.
Tony Patterson says the strength of any ocean technology company in this province is rooted directly in the environment.
In Newfoundland, we've been operating in these conditions for 500 years. We have that accumulation of operational expertise. We have the most advanced scientific facilities in the world for simulating ice and high waves, and we've tapped into that expertise to bring into our products.
And while Virtual Marine simulators might help trainees exercise caution, for the company itself, it's full steam ahead. Jane Adey, CBC News, St. John's.
A prestigious premiere across the pond, the hit show Come From Away debuts in London's West End.
The Toronto cast of Come From Away has come back, and this time with a big donation.
When the cast heard the Community Food Sharing Association warehouse was destroyed in a fire last month, they wanted to pitch in. So for the past 2 weeks, at the end of every performance, they passed a hat into the audience for donations.
And together, along with proceeds raised during their January performance in St. John's, the Toronto cast raised more than, get this, $85,000. And this morning, that check was presented to General Manager Egg Walters, who says the money is going to be used to buy beans, pasta, tinned tuna, and all of the items that they're currently short on. And one of the show's stars did the honors.
Last week in Toronto, we were raising money for the Community Food Sharing Association after the show. And I said, as a joke, I said, you know, we're accepting donations of any kind and any size, loonies, toonies, 20s, blank checks, you know. And at the end of that, I added that if you're from out of town, loonies mean $100 bills. And that night, my stage manager texted me and he said, hey, Steffi, you'll never believe this, but there were actually a few American $100 bills in the buckets. And I thought, oh, man, I must be a really great actor, or people are really moved by the show, and I think it's probably that one.
Oh, that's great.
That's fantastic.
That's a lot of money, too.
Yeah.
$5,000.
American $100 bills go a long way.
They do. And the Broadway hit shows no sign of slowing down. Come From Away is making the musical leap across the pond to London's West End.
Yeah, the CBC's Kayla Hounsell has more on the show that's striking a chord with audience wherever it goes, as well as for Hounsell herself.
The middle of nowhere, Gander, Newfoundland. The town and surrounding communities and the people in them now on stage in London.
Can I get you in? There we go.
The producers have flown the real people across the Atlantic to meet the actors who portray them.
Never, ever in our wildest dreams did we ever think that this was going to go any further than a college musical.
When the 9/11 attacks closed U.S. airspace, 38 planes were diverted to Gander.
Well, we'll take down the toast.
For 5 days, nearly 7,000 come-from-aways became their guests. On the 10th anniversary of 9/11, Irene Sankoff and David Hine went to Gander to write a musical.
Telling a story about people overcoming their differences and about responding to tragedy with kindness and with shared humanity. I think that it's been important for us, but it feels like it's important to a lot of people.
They all agree the show is precisely accurate. Brian Mosier was a local television reporter.
When you see your words, word for word, with the pauses where you put them. Now, I don't know how much old Rogers tape they watched, apparently a lot.
The cast believes that accuracy is what stirs audiences' emotions, no matter how far removed they are from the actual events.
I think the people of London want to see themselves there because they want to believe that they would do the same thing.
9/11, they say, represented hatred, but 9/12 epitomized love.
It's pretty special for me to be reporting on this story here in London. I'm actually from Gander and I lived there during 9/11. I was in high school at the time, but of course my school was closed to make way for our visitors, and I remember my mom and I at the time thinking, well, what can we do to help? So we decided to make some muffins, and I remember that we had to actually go to multiple church halls and community centers to get rid of them because there were signs on the door saying too much food, thank you. So like this musical, I think that is a testament to the people of Gander. They truly did respond with force to those calls for help on the local news. And on that note, that local reporter that you just saw in that piece was actually also my high school media teacher and the person who inspired me to become a journalist. So a full circle moment for the both of us, for me to be interviewing him in London at the Canadian High Commission with a Newfoundland flag in the background. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, London.
Well, nice personal touch there. Nice. Bit of a story, you don't see that too often. Well done, Kayla.
Some fast friends judge fast food.
Who has the best burger in St. John's? Well, the votes are in. Stay tuned.
The story of the overgrown hiking trail that became the foundation of a friendship. Sunday at noon and Monday at 7.
This weather update is brought to you by Beltone, helping the world hear better.
Okay, Ashley, you dialed up a really nice one on the weekend.
Beautiful, hey.
And
It was
we
a
should
gorgeous
commit that
weekend.
one to memory, apparently.
Well, as far as temperatures go, yes. But I mean, because we're into this cold, it's actually going to be quite calm for the next couple of days. That's definitely good news. But if we take a look at the future tracker into Wednesday, and I say calm as far as like no significant systems are moving through. Now, we are going to stay windy, though, into the afternoon on Wednesday. And then the chance of some flurries will move through and along the west northeast coast, as you just saw, move over there, and then into the Avalon as well into the afternoon on Wednesday. So we could see a few flurries, but most of the day actually looks like it should be a mix of sun and cloud into the afternoon. But we do have that extreme cold warning. Now this is for Tuesday night into Wednesday. Temperatures are not going to be moving much. If you can see, these are your daytime highs, minus 18 to minus 16 rather to minus 18 right across the board. And we're seeing similar temperatures up through Labrador as well. Factor in that wind chill. Again, we're going to see those wind chill values feeling closer to minus 40. And with that, any exposed skin has the potential to freeze between 10 to 30 minutes. So if you are heading out, dress in layers, certainly bundle up, because that's cold for around this time of year for sure, or at least in general for the province. Wednesday overnight into Thursday, we're still going to see that potential for some flurries in the morning, and then just a mix of sun and cloud right across the board for your Thursday into Friday. Calm again. We're not going to see too much in the way of any precipitation, most likely just a few flurries here and there. And then that continues right into Saturday afternoon. We could see some onshore flurries for the west coast and then the northeast coast as well into the evening on Saturday. So taking a look at your 5-day forecast, those winds will continue. So breezy tomorrow, wind chill feeling like minus 27, as your afternoon high should be around minus 8, minus 17 overnight into Wednesday, with those winds continuing. Now keep that in mind, generally should be sitting around 0 degrees for this time of year. And then into Thursday, again, that potential for a few flurries. Again, mostly a mix of sun and cloud though. Central Newfoundland, same thing, windy tomorrow night, continuing through the day on Wednesday, and it looks like sunshine right into Saturday, but we are going to continue to see these cool temperatures right through, right across the board, and then same thing for Western Newfoundland. So squalls possible tomorrow. Flurries and windy for Wednesday, and then Thursday we're looking at that potential for some flurries as well with a mix of sun and cloud. Eastern Labrador, because we're under that big ridge of high pressure, windy tomorrow, continue into Wednesday, but plenty of sunshine. Temperatures not really moving much into the minus teens, and then same thing for Western Labrador. So overall, even though if you can get past that cold and you bundle up, it looks like an absolutely beautiful week. So that's a look at your forecast. I'll have your weather photo, because it's a good one, when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. To international news now. There were calls for protests to resume in Haiti today, but so far, angry demonstrators have not returned to the streets, and the capital remains relatively calm. Businesses and government offices, as well as the Canadian Embassy, reopened today for the first time since demonstrations erupted 11 days ago. Schools, however, remained closed in case violence flares up again. Haitians, angry about the nationwide shortages and corruption, are demanding the president resign. He's refusing to step down, but over the weekend, the Prime Minister promised an investigation into the government misspending. Also today, a Haitian newspaper says police arrested a group of heavily armed foreign nationals, including 5 Americans.
Well, 8 Canadian nurses who were stranded in Haiti during the violent protests are now on their way home. The women were volunteers at a charity group called Hope Grows, located about 60 kilometers from the capital. But street barricades and protests prevented them from leaving the country. So, with the help of a GoFundMe campaign, they hired a helicopter, and they were picked up this afternoon from the compound where they were staying and then taken to the Port-au-Prince airport, where they caught a plane bound for Canada. They're expected to arrive in Montreal later this evening.
The United Kingdom's main opposition Labour Party has been rocked by resignations of 7 MPs. They say they quit over the party's handling of Brexit and accuse the leadership of harbouring bullies, bigots and anti-Semites.
Leadership has willfully and repeatedly failed to address hatred against Jewish people within its ranks.
The resigning MPs blame Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn for allowing the hatred to fester. It's an accusation that's been levelled against Labour for some time. Britain is scheduled to leave the EU on March 29th. Labour still has about 250 MPs, but this is the largest exodus from the party in nearly 40 years.
A retired Saskatoon architect is putting his skills to good use this winter, and his inspiration? Elsa's castle from the movie Frozen. And he spoke to the CBC about his motivation and his method.
My name is Don Greer. I'm a retired architect, and for the fun of things, at wintertime I spend my time making ice sculptures. My father worked as a lineman on with telephones, and one of the greatest fears that they had was the ice buildup. So I always knew that I could work with ice on building up on wire, and so I started making nativity scenes and that sort of thing out of using the wire to sculpt the frame that I wanted. Well, I have 3 granddaughters who love Elsa, and when the movie Frozen came out a few years ago, it was in ice, and of course the lights sort of kind of went on. I says, I think I can do that. So I started studying over the last few years, did a lot of little sketches. They said, Elsa's Castle. They knew what it was. So there was people by here last night when we were out front, and there was 2 little girls there and their mother, and she said, you don't know how happy you made some girls. So it was just, it touched my heart, and so I just keep doing it.
Oh,
that's a nice story.
Yeah. Really emotional there at the end. Well, Saturday was Judgment Day for burger patties in St. John's.
Fast food lovers from across the city found each other on Twitter.
They wanted to decide once and for all which burger reigns supreme, which of 8 chain restaurants serves the best signature sandwich.
And so just who has got the tastiest fries? Well, the judges stuck to a rigorous ranking system to determine the winner.
We broke it down to 5 different things. So the patty itself, we're trying to, your overall feel of the taste. Is it too greasy, too dry? The bun, kind of the same thing. So is it dry? Is it a stale bun?
It's a bit complex. We look at bun and patty and toppings and ratio, and then for the fries we're looking at seasoning and size and freshness and crispness. So it's a bit intense, but it's all right.
And the winner? Well, the judges say A&W's Teen Burger and Fries combo is the best bet when it comes to finding a cheap sandwich on the island.
Now, their scoring breakdown is available on our website, and you can see how they ranked all of the fast food burgers. That's at cbc.ca/NL. Pretty serious.
Well, if you were outside at all this weekend, clear skies, generally clear skies on Sunday. This shot was taken. Any idea where that is?
On the Avalon.
It is on the Avalon.
It's not Middle Cove.
Nope.
It's close to Middle Cove.
Kind of.
No point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Take a guess, and I'll tell you where this was taken when we come back.
Picture time?
Picture time. Gotta
All right.
take a look at this one because it's so beautiful.
Okay, Wade Reed on Twitter says Maddox Cove.
No.
No?
No.
Okay, Wade, you feel my pain.
It's Petty Harbor.
Oh, beautiful Petty Harbor.
Yes. Gorgeous
Such
shot
a
there.
gorgeous place.
Especially even when the sun isn't shining, it's beautiful there.
Yeah.
I do. It's one of my favorite places to go, actually. So this was a Sunday morning swell, and Madden grabbed that shot for
Sunday
us.
was so nice.
It really was.
Thanks a lot, Ann.
Yeah. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca and try and get them on the show.
Excellent.
Yeah, busy Monday. Start off with that horrible accident on the West Coast. Fortunately, no fatalities, a couple of serious injuries, but take it easy out in the roads.
That's right.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.